discipline yourself to stop and put your numbers in.
Welcome to the Icon Coaching Mastermind session with Sean Kokoska and Coach Rob Daniel.
Everyone. Well, now remember, don't forget on Mondays, we do have accountability day. And don't forget that you still have to put in your numbers, and that's how we track you. That's how we take care of you. That's how we know whether you're rocking and rolling. And it is and it isn't, right? I mean, because there are people that are rocking and rolling and making things happen and going and getting listings, and they're making their calls and they're doing all the things, but absolutely have a very hard time, and I'm probably one of these, discipline yourself to stop and put your numbers in. You know, that's not a normal thing. And I think that's why many times that we don't is because it's just not so normal. But here's the benefit of it. If you actually did, you could duplicate your business or know how to operate your business at any time. If you like in 6 months, if you had every one of your numbers, how many calls, how many contacts you made from your calls, how many appointments you got from your contacts, how many appointments, how many contracts did you get when then you would eventually know, okay, it takes this many calls for me to make this much money. Now I want to make more money. Well, then you got to up the calls, because everything else in between would be the same. And we could talk conversion rates and all that kind of stuff. Well, today we're going to do something kind of fun or kind of a little bit different or kind of something. I'm going to give you, and we're going to mastermind just a little bit of, and don't think this is going to be any kind of real mindset thing. It is a little bit today, but I want you to think of how do you think in this business? I mean, what are the ways that you really are you a big thinker, or are you a medium thinker, or are you a small thinker? And I've got about seven or eight things to mastermind around this. Write this down. The first one is going to be this, and you have heard this all your sales life, is what is your big why? Think powered by a big why. You got to think. The way you think is powered by your big why. That and I'll get to number two in a little bit, because I want to just talk to you about that. What do you think your big why is? That this is the mastermind time. Come on, make sure you're off mute. Everybody off mute. Come off mute. Come off mute. Mute. What is, and I've heard this all my real estate career. Okay. What is your big why, Rob? What is the thing? And I think it changes. Would you agree? Would you agree that it changes over your lifespan? Okay. I'm no longer driven to buy a house. Okay. I'm no longer driven. I just sold my house. So I'm no longer driven. I'm no longer driven to raise my kids. I mean, they're in their 40s. I feel like I'm still raising them sometimes. But again, some of you might know what I'm talking about. I am driven by a big why for my grandkids. I'm driven to do what I'm doing with you. And the reason I'm doing it is because I would love to help, share, or completely pay for my grandkids' college education. And they're from 6 to 16, 8 of them. Okay. So I personally think for me, and I just want to say it for me, that I've never been driven by a big why. I've been driven by big whys with an S, but I don't know that I've ever been driven by a big why. This is my big why. Man, get out of my way. Here I come. But I do hear people say that. So what say you? Are you a big why person? You know it. You got it down pat. Are you a person that I hear many times, man, I'm still searching for my big why. I just don't know what my big why is. Or are you like me? I got a bunch of them, and they seem to be changing all the time. So what say you? Who's first?
I'll go. I don't mind
Okay,
going.
good. You're right
Yeah.
in the center of my screen, as you should go first if you're in the center.
Tic-tac-toe, that's a good spot. All right. So I think more for my why, it's more of a regret. When I'm in my late 80s, what would I regret not having done versus stepping out and doing when I look back? So anytime I get stuck and I worry about things, it's like, what at the end of time, my time, what would be my regrets in this business? Knowing the opportunities I have, what would be my regrets? I don't want to leave with regrets, right? So that would be one of my whys.
Dang, that's good, Pamela. I mean, I'm sitting here, man, that's making me think. And I'm going to tell you what, one of the things that comes to my mind, and whenever I was teaching Bold, we had a thing in there that it was a book. It was actually the five regrets of a dying person. And what those top five were. I'm trying to remember what they all were, but again, it was a very interesting thing. And certainly one of the regrets is I wish I had not worked as hard or something like that, or worked. I like what you're saying, man. That made me think. That I don't know about the rest of you, but it made me really think about, okay, wait a minute now. Okay, so at the end of my dying bed, what regrets
You may
would
have,
I have that
yeah,
yeah, that I kind of
opportunity.
like that.
So many of us have, right?
That kind of
Opportunities
drives
that
me
we
a
get
little
in our
bit.
ways. Yeah, we get in our way. It's anytime you get stuck, when I get in my way and I get stuck, I try to think, okay, will this be a regret for me if I can't find a way through it? That's kind of my why. And then the other is like you with the grandkids. I like to take them to Disney. I want to enjoy them. I want to experience the fun things. Like I have life insurance policies for them and things that'll be there, but it's the time. That's the thing they always say, people never get more time. So
Yeah, that's one thing that we don't have. We cannot add many times.
yeah,
Whatever our time is, it is.
yeah.
Okay, good stuff there, Pamela. Really, really good stuff. Who else? Who's next? Come on.
I'll go. So I've got a eighth grader and a ninth grader. So like college is kind of on the horizon. So thinking about paying for that. And so 48 and have lost a few friends, kind of like realizing that we're not like more, immortal, and so thinking about how to set things up for the future so that I don't have to be selling real estate when I'm 95. As that seems to be what realtors do. Yeah, so it's basically long-term financial freedom or stability, safety, whatever you call it, and then covering the kids' college. And then not so when I mentioned these friends, like not kind of along the regrets line, like I like to sail. So want to be able to go out and sail and not worry about the phone ringing. So and I kind of mentioned the team stuff last week. And so basically having that set up, enough business going so that I can kind of feed a team a little bit. So I don't have to worry about every aspect of it myself.
Wow. And I get that. I get all of that. And I'm sitting here just thinking again, I keep going back to all those regrets. I mean, I'm like, that gum you, Pamela. Because well, let me say this, and I'll say this to you, Mike. Here's what I was going to say to you. Gosh, man, things do change all the time. I can remember at 50, 60 years old, and I'm 68 now, heading for 69. And I always said I would probably work forever. why would I just stop, retire, and do this? I'm going to work forever. I'm just going to continue to work as long as I have my health, as long as I have everything. You know something? I mean, for one of the first times at this age, now I'm at 68. And I'm like, a little bit what you're saying, Mike. I want to take off. I don't know that I want to quit what I'm doing, but I don't want to have to work. I want to work because I want to work, not because I have to work.
Right.
Does that make sense? And even though I got to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen here, and I don't know how many of you are near my age or what, I don't. But I would say this. It does take a lot to stop, to have to stop. If you think $1 million is enough, it's not. It really isn't. And because you think $1 million, oh my gosh, man, you're a millionaire. Oh my, $1 million. I can promise you, it's not enough to live off of. Not for the rest of your life. In other words, if you say, okay, I'm going to stop at 68, or I'm going to stop at 70, dang, you might live to 90 or 95 or 100. And you got to have money that far out, right? And I don't know that I gave that the biggest thought, even when I was 50 or 55 or 60. I started thinking about it around 60, but that's almost too late. And I don't know that I can get it into the heads of these people that are 40, 50 years old, my kids, 40s. I don't know that I can get it into their heads that, dang, man, blink your eyes and you're going to be my age and I'm going to be gone. And don't wait. Have $2 or $3 million basically by the time you're 60. That's where you better figure it out, because if you wait till and anyway, I'm just thinking, I'm Social Security. Are you kidding me? That Social Security is nothing. Is nothing. I haven't even started yet. I'm waiting until I'm 70 and I'm going to get the max. And you know what the max is? I don't know if you guys know what the max Social Security is. $4,500. So about what, 50,000, a little bit over 50,000 a year, $54,000 a year. You can't live on $54,000 a year. Anyway, there's my whining here just one moment. Thank you, Pamela and Mike, for making me whine here on our Zoom. Okay, so Big Y, come on. Those are two good things that they have said. And yes, Simon, go for it.
Okay, I'll go. My why is, well, I have 3 kids. They're grown. My youngest is my daughter. She's 26 and she's still at home. So my why is to be able to provide for my family, my wife and my daughter. My 2 sons are, out on their own, and to keep a roof over our head, put food on the table, and to build at some point financial freedom where I can live a decent lifestyle without having to go to work, have money coming in enough every month to pay all my bills and meet all my financial needs. And also to one of my big whys is to help people realize the American dream of home ownership. I still feel that's the American dream, and that could be helping first-time home buyers buy a home or helping homeowners sell their house and make that profit, which is part of the dream of home ownership. And so that's really part of why I do it.
I find it interesting that you say that, and I love that you're saying that, because I think, listening to the news and listening to the world today, that homeownership is not as much of American dream as it used to be. You used to really, that was a big deal, owning your home. I can remember whenever I bought my first home, and 800 square feet, $23,000, and my $227 a month mortgage. Okay. And actually I had my 3 kids. We had our 3 kids and in that 800 square foot home till they were about 3 or 4 years old, all three of them in there.
Mhm.
And then we finally moved to I think it was about a 1,700 square foot home. Man, we thought we were in,
Mhm.
a mansion. But I'm hearing more and more, Simon, and I think it'll turn back around. I'm hearing more and more of you hear people, kids staying at home longer, living in the garage, right, living in the basement. And I just heard the other day, and I'm believing a little bit that most people are renting now versus buying. Meaning that's the mindset that is changing today, is that I don't want to own a house. I think I'll just rent. And now that brings a whole nother nice big why, because if you're an investor, you can start building houses or investing, go buy homes and flip them, or either flip them up and make them nice and rent them out. But I get what you're saying, and I'm with you on that. Here's the only thing I would say to all of us is that big why big enough and strong enough? Because I'm going to say this, we're in a business that can give you everything you're talking about as a big why. We are in a business that, I mean, there's you can make as much money as you want to in real estate. So the question is, are you making the money that you want to make in real estate? And if not, is that big why really still strong enough? Because it's easy to say, I want to have financial freedom, or I want to take care of my kids, or I want to take care of this, or I want to take care of that. But if you don't, then what does that say? If you're not doing that a year from now or 2 years from now, then is that why big enough? Because you're in a business that you can do that. You don't need to go find another business. You just need to figure out how to drive yourself in the real estate business to make that kind of money. Okay.
I think on my end, because I came from a service profession prior to this. I was in sports medicine. I was an athletic trainer full-time at the university. So what is that? That's a give profession. That's 24/7. You deal with them from injury to return. So for me, when I first started the real estate, it was about helping people try and get into a home. Because the home I live in now, we own. My mom and I own it. So it allowed me the opportunity to start this of wanting to be able to help people. But I think it's about a 50-50 between that and finding a little more financial freedom. I want to be able to contribute more to our house with a couple of small things, but I also have to feed my Disney habit and my annual pass that I have. So, but that's like, yeah, I know. And those are some of the things, but they kind of wavers back and forth between several different things. And the hard part is, like I said, I want to help people, but I'm also getting told that we're not going to deal with that price point, where I'm going, but they need help. They still qualify for that and they can get in that, but you're telling me I can't help them. So I kind of get mixed signals sometimes, and I get frustrated with just that little part. So I'm always still trying to figure out what the overall why is.
Good thinking. Good thinking. I think it's a lot of people. I really do. I think it's a whole lot. You're in a category with a lot of other people out there that is really looking and searching. Shannon, you got any last moment or last thoughts about this? Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You must be muted.
Yeah.
No? No, there you go. No. You weren't muted.
I
Couldn't
wasn't
hear.
muted. Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, glitch maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, I've taken so many trainings and they always talk about the why, and I can kind of come up with one, but then I don't know that it's the thing that drives me in my daily actions. So I was a competitive gymnast my whole life, and I had structural issues that we didn't know about. So the structural issues and the gymnastics on top, that was not a good combination. So I have been labeled handicapped since I was 14, and I have chronic back pain.
Spondy.
I keep thinking that my why needs to be, yes, I want financial freedom. I want to contribute to my family, but I need to be able to have the resources to manage my own body. And it's not cheap necessarily. And I don't know what the future holds. And I just watched my brother lose his wife of 28 years. She passed a month ago. But for a year, he was financially, I mean, my brother's very successful. He was able to walk away from his company for a year, devote his time to her 100%. And part of what made it easier is he had money at his disposal. So he could kind of throw money at the problem to the degree that you can't. I mean, it didn't save her life, but it made the process more manageable for him while he was the caregiver. And as I face my own bodily problems, like I don't have those kind of resources. So it's my why. Like I've always been, I mean, I've been a psychologist for 25 years. So I've always helped people and I want to help people, but I also need to be able to help myself. But it's not motivating me to be different on a daily basis. That's where my breakdown happens.
Okay, let me say this. She said a lot right there. Let me tell you what I picked up, and maybe you can say what you guys picked up. I mean, a couple of things right there at the very end. I mean, at the, you know, I think there's sometimes, and I'm going to say this to everybody. I know what Zig Ziglar says, and I've always lived by that. Give enough people what they want, and you'll get what you want. And I do believe that. I do think sometimes we give. I mean, Brandy, get, you know, in what you give, and you don't give to yourself. Sometimes you forget that part. You know, I can remember Diana Kokoska always saying, you know, one of these things, and it wasn't her that invented this. You got to love yourself to be able to love other people. And sometimes you got to take care of you before you can actually take care of other people. And I think a lot of people neglect themselves to be able to help. And because that's what a lot of human beings do, I think, is to help other people. You look at people that, you know, Americans can fight each other and bitter at each other and be da la 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 la. But I can promise you go outside and you fall and your neighbors or somebody sees you and you're hurting, all of a sudden you see people coming to your rescue. So my whole point is I think that's interesting that you say what you said, and then powered by that big why. The bigger thing I think that you said is, and this has been for everybody forever. I hear everybody on here's big why, but is it big enough to take the small actions right now? Let me see, because you can see that big why, but is it small enough? Is the big why small enough that you're driven, man? You are driven when you wake up every morning. I mean, you wake up every morning at 8 o'clock in the morning and you wake up out of that bed and said, man, get out of my life, get out of my way. Here I come, man. I'm going to work 8 to 10 hours a day if I've got to make sure my kids are in college and going to have that, because I can promise you, Mike, boom, blink your eyes and college is here. That's all you got to do is blink your eyes, man. And your kids are, hey, Dad, I'm ready to go look at colleges. And you're like, what the heck? I just had a nice little dance with my daughter. We just think we have so much time. And time is not on our side most of the time. Because blink your eyes and you're 10 years older. Would everybody agree with that? Mm-hmm. Heck, look how old you are now. Look how old your kids are. Come on, Simon. I mean, your 26-year-old was just sweet 16 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Sweet 16. What happened? What happened in those 10 years?
Wow.
If we could ever understand that every day, whenever you wake up, you got to go, you know, you heard, and if everybody's heard this, I won't repeat it, but you've heard about the lion and the gazelle. Yes, no, go like this or go like that. The lion and the gazelle, when you wake up every morning, you're either the lion or the gazelle. And what does that mean? Well, you wake up every morning and the gazelle has to run as fast as it can or it will be eaten by the lion. So it's got to run faster than the fastest lion. The lion wakes up every morning hungry and it goes running and it's running after the gazelle, and it's got to be able to run faster than the slowest gazelle. So the moral of the story when you wake up every morning is what?
Be a lion.
Run. You got to run, whether you're the gazelle or the lion. The moral of the story is every morning everybody wakes up and you better run, or you're either going to starve or you're going to get eaten. One or the other. You either starve or get eaten. And so every morning we got to get up and run. I wrote this down, or I've got this down here. If you have a big why, you've got to bring a big focus, and you have to bring a big energy. Those are two things that I believe that you got to have, because if you have a little why, then you got a little focus and you got a little energy, right? But if you have, if your why is so big, and it is big, then you'll wake up every morning with big energy and a big focus. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Let me give you a second one. Okay. Think big goals. Think big goals. Think big goals. And if I can remember in the book, the MREA book, if I can remember one of those things, because they talked about goals a lot. I think it was big goals and big models. Okay. And I do believe in that book. I don't know if you guys ever read the red book, the Millionaire Real Estate book. Have you guys ever read that? Everything. Anyway, I do believe in those 4 models. I believe if you were to do those at a high level, the organization model, the lead generation model, the economic model, and the budget model, you do those 4 things at the highest level, you can't help but to be very, very, very successful. So I think you got to have big goals and then big models to follow, because you don't have models and systems to follow your big goals. They just scatter around, and they just kind of wander around, and they die. Would you agree with that? My question is do you have big goals? And I'll share mine. I'll start off. I mean, I think aren't we all with EXP? Are we all with EXP? No, you're not, Shannon. Okay. Who are you with, Shannon?
I left EXP recently and joined Epic.
I don't know Epic. What state you in?
Epic is originated out of Texas, and it kind of has a similar model to EXP, but with a lot more focus on the agent and the agent support. And I'm in California, so they've branched out. Gotcha.
Well, see my little thing, and so, but again, as far as, for example, let me give you my big goals. I just came over from Keller Williams to EXP, right? Just 6-7 months ago. And I have such a focus on rev share, building the organization that and by the way, I realized too, I'm 68 years old. I don't have as much time as a 40-year-old.
Right? Obviously.
Simon's up.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm just.
Let me mute him. He called me sweetheart last week.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. He didn't know he was me, not me. Before some of you came on, he goes, "Hi, sweetheart." I'm like, "Whoa, hey, Simon." What's up with that?
That was yesterday. That was funny.
It was funny. But anyway, my whole point is this. Dang. I can see myself with 2,000 to 3,000 people in my organization. Now that's a big goal. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Because if you have 2,000, I want you to understand you're making over $100,000 a month. And I'm like, okay, how can I go faster? How can I get faster? How can I go faster? And all I do is I sit around and I say, how can I go faster? And I'm going fast. I've been here 7 months. I've got 60 people. Okay. My goal by the end of this year is 500. Did you hear that? 500. I'll be making $25,000, $30,000 a month at 500. I'm like, okay, freedom, baby. That'll help you out, wouldn't it, Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, that would help everybody out if you were making like about $25,000, $30,000 a month for the rest of your life. Dang. So are you driven to figure it out, whether it be selling real estate or whether it be like a rev share or profit share with Keller Williams or that kind of thing? Are you driven and can you figure it out?
So you have a goal of 500 people by the end of the year. So you reverse engineer that as to quarterly, or how did you arrive at that?
Yeah, you know something. Well, I arrived just because it sounds good, 500.
Okay.
And I have heard, and I don't know if it's true, that whenever you get to about 125, 150, that it takes off on its own faster, even faster. So my goal is in 6 months of this year. So by June 1st, yeah, something like June, would that be June or July? July 1st, I guess. By July the 1st is to have that 150 to 200 people. That's where I'm aiming at, because I believe that I can catapult to 500 in the second half. And I'm finding these people, right? And I'm helping them. I got one guy, man, all he wants to do is just make phone calls. And he's already got 2 people on. He just came over a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to sit there and just make phone calls. But I got him. And he's in my first level, right? Now, go make all the phone calls you want to make. He's not going to sell one bit of real estate, but man, he's going to probably have at least 100 people in his organization by the end of the year, right? So how big can you think, though? How big are you thinking? How small are you thinking? Maybe with your own business. Are you selling 25 transactions a year? Are you selling 50? I sold 120. I always wanted to sell 100 houses a year when I came into the business. Nobody was doing it in Virginia, all of Virginia, in 1988. So you know what I did? I flew out to California to see Shannon. She was doing it back then. No, I'm just kidding. I flew out to see a guy named Walt Sanford in Long Beach, California. He was selling 247 houses a year in 1988. And I said, I'm going to get on a plane and go see what he's doing. So I got on a plane and he let me follow him for 4 days, gave me all the system. I came back, and within 2 years, I was selling 100 houses a year. So talk to me about your big goal and what are you doing to go get it? Your turn. I gave you mine. Come on. Share. Did y'all talk?
So I'll talk. I don't
Thank you, Pamela. I thought these California ladies would pop in there really quick.
No, it's got to be a Midwest girl, right?
Midwest girl. Go ahead, Midwest
In
girl.
the middle.
In the middle. And by the way, you're right in the middle of the 2 California ladies.
That's why my middle child always feels lost. So
That's right. Mine too.
So anyway, yeah. So my goals, I'm not far from you age-wise, just a couple of years behind you. So I want to build a big enough organization that the rev share is there for me. But I've always been a solo agent with an admin and maybe 1 or 2 buyer's agents. My goal this year is to build a bigger team. It's one of those things, it's hard to find the people that really want to learn from you and do the things you do. I don't know, seem to burn out, get tired of it, or frustrated with the systems and what you're asking. It's like anything. It's like a large staircase, right? If you look at the top, it looks like a long way to go, but you need to do one step at a time. And they're not always willing to do that. You get up to the 3rd step and they want to be at the top. They don't want to take the next steps in between. And it's a process, right? So that's my goal. That's what I want to get to. I've got some great systems that I'm working on. And we've both been in the business for a long time. The biggest frustration is how much the business has changed in the last couple of years and the way we've done things. Doesn't matter if you've got 30 years, 40 years, or 25 years in the business. We're all kind of at the same level. We understand the negotiation and have tools for economic things, but the tools to actually market and obtain leads and prospects, we're all kind of at the same level right now because it's changed so much.
Wow. Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Anybody else real quick? I've got a couple things to say. Write this down, if you will. Number one, nothing is possible. I know you don't want to write it down. Just, nothing is possible. It's hard to write that one down, isn't it? Number two, something is possible. And number three, anything is possible. How do you think? How do you, 1, 2, or 3? Again, it's easy to say 3. It's easy just to say, yeah, anything is possible. Yes, I believe that. Yes, I believe it. But do you really believe it? Are you living it? That anything is possible? Or are you living that something is possible? And I got to believe there are people out here. I don't know. I don't know them. Maybe they just down on their luck and that kind of thing is they believe now and their mindset is nothing is possible. But how do you believe? How do the people on here that I'm looking at, how do you really believe? Are you somewhere between nothing and something? Are you somewhere between something and anything? Are you over the top that anything is possible? What do you
Something.
believe? Something possible? Good. Simon, what are you? Where are you on the scale, on that continuum scale right there from nothing to anything?
I believe anything is possible. Very positive person. I think anything is possible. There's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. We just got to find the way.
Okay. Shannon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like I'm more on, again, I'd say the same thing. I'm super on the anything is possible, anything and everything is possible. And that's my belief system, but I don't know that it changes me on a daily basis because I still get lost in the weeds.
It's that daily basis thing. I like what you're thinking there. Mike, where are you?
Well, I like to think anything's possible. I think that between something and anything, sometimes like based on time, like when you think about like how much time you have to get something achieved, like I can't be in a rock band anymore. So like that was probably possible back in college, so like certain things you kind of, I think part of it is like, on this whole thing is like complacency too, like when you do good enough, like that, you don't have to be as hungry. So I think that's the hardest thing is staying, kind of keeping that hunger, that's a challenge.
Pamela, where are you on that scale?
So I do believe anything is possible. And I think that, again, opportunity right now, it has really leveled the playing field with all of the artificial intelligence and all of the ways. I mean, gone is the yellow pages, gone is the Holmes magazine at every gas station or train station or restaurant as you're going in or out, right? But we have to be willing to embrace it and learn it, and again, I think that goes to your very first point, the mindset. Do we have the mindset and then the focus? Because you're going to have to, and there is so much out there, you have to pick and choose and then really focus.
Yeah. And that goes back to you, Shannon. I mean, again, it's a matter of those little things, those little actions has to do a lot with focus. I mean, I mean, and focus and discipline. Those are words, right? That get us to the little small things that we have to do every day to get to the big things. I do believe anything's possible. I said one time in Bolden, I think somebody actually corrected me but maybe it wasn't that. For example, can I fly? You see, I say I can. I think that's possible because I have, and a lot of people, I have no, let's see, what did I say? I have no limitations or something like that. I have to figure out what I said. I used to say that in Bold, that I have just no limitation, and people would just crawl all over me, man. Oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? And they would always come against you. I think it's human nature to try to tear you down versus build you up. And maybe that's a wrong word, human nature, but I found this all throughout Bold, all my years where I would say that near the end of Bold, I would say, I have no limits. I have no limitations. And people would almost in every bowl would try to tear that down. They would find it. Well, can you fly? Well, yeah, I can fly. I can get a flying suit and jump off that cliff and I can fly. I've seen people do that. But am I going to do it? No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to do it, but it doesn't mean I cannot do it. And I said one time, well, maybe I cannot, think about this, be the center for the Los Angeles Lakers. I could sit back and say, I'm not tall enough. I'm not athletic enough on that. I'm not this or I'm not that. But wait a minute. So the question is, could I make a lot of money? Could I be a billionaire? Well, I could. I could have been, in my lifetime, I could have been a billionaire. Okay. Every one of us have that ability to be a billionaire. Would everybody agree with that? We just choose not to do the little things, Shannon, to get us there. Okay. But we could be a billionaire. Now, if I was a billionaire, could I give the Lakers $1 billion if I had 10 billion, give them $1 billion for me to sit right there on the court and in a scrimmage game that they have, they send me in for one play in the center for the Los Angeles Lakers? The answer is yes, anything is possible. And so just because I don't have the athletic ability, I could have other abilities that could cause me to be the center for the Los Angeles Lakers for one scrimmage play. So I do think that. I'll leave you with this, So the question is, for very few people, big things do happen. And the question is why? And I put this down. These people believe that anything is possible. And if you want it bad enough, and you are willing to do, and you are, what did I say? If you want it badly enough and are willing to do what is necessary to get it, that's what those people are. And there's not that many. We need to be that many. We may not be on the scale of this way up here, but every one of you right here can be on a different scale by the end of this year. In 6 months, you could be on a different scale. But we choose. I tell people, and sometimes it bothers them what I say when I say this. I sold 120 houses a year in 4.5 days a week. And would you guys agree on here? If it could be done once, it could be done again and again and again and again. But here's what I say at the end that shuts everybody down. It could be done. It can be done over and over and over and over again. You just choose not to. You just choose not to do what it took me to sell 120 houses a year. You just choose not to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and maybe you can't, okay? But that's what I did, and work till 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday. I worked till 5 o'clock on Friday until I sold 100 houses. Then I started golfing every Friday. I worked a half a day Saturday, and I worked no Sundays. But man, when I worked, I probably wasn't the most popular realtor in my office because I wouldn't speak to anybody. Because my whole thinking was, remember this, my thinking was, you're a realtor. You're not going to give me a listing or a sale. You're not going to feed my family. Why am I going to lunch with you? Realtors want to go to lunch with realtors. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Go to lunch with a builder. Go to lunch with somebody that's going to give you some referrals. But don't go with somebody that's not. But that was my mentality on my quest to selling 100 houses a year. And so, no, I wasn't the most popular and the most liked realtor in my office because I wouldn't stop and socialize with everybody. But again, I did sell 100 houses a year, and I did take care of my family. That was more important than any person out there. So with that understanding in mind, just remember this. I mean, you're powered by your why. But as I continue to go back with Shannon saying, it's waking up every morning and doing those little things that get you to those bigger things. So fill in your numbers. That's the little thing. All right, guys. Is there any last minute thing anybody would like to say?
So Rob, I think sometimes when you're trying to get to your bigger why, it's what you do, but it's also what you're willing to give up
Right.
to get there, to do what you need to do, right?
And
Sometimes
you
we
know,
have-
sometimes Pamela, and sometimes you're right. And sometimes you're not willing to give that up. And so you have to accept that you may not get there, or you got to figure out a different way to get there because you're not willing to give up whatever this is. Right?
Mhm.
Did I say that well enough?
It's what
Understood.
you're willing to stop doing, right? Yeah, to do what
Yeah.
you need to do. Yep.
Yeah. Anything's possible. Anything is possible.
I agree.
Just remember that. Okay. See you guys.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Rob.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
If you would like to hear more masterminds, hit like and follow us on our social media channels. If you would like to be part of our mastermind session, click the link in the description and join us on our next Accelerated Breakthrough Plus Mastermind.